The pragmatism is precisely what has led me to emphasize that rules must always prevail over the law of the strongest. When raw power replace rules, instability follows, uncertainty grows, costs rise, and conflicts multiply. Rules are what make cooperation possible. Defending them is not only the fair thing to do, but also the only way to avoid chaos. That brings me to the second value I would like to defend today: the need to uphold a rules-based international order and strengthen multilateralism. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Much of the international community, including the US and the European Union, rightly condemned this aggression. We also approved sanctions against the invader and provided support to the victim. Well, then I keep wondering what double standard prevents us from condemning with the same determination the murder of over 60,000 Palestinians in Gaza. Spain firmly recognized the right of the State of Israel to exist and to stand up for its own security. We also condemned in the strongest possible way the brutal terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas on October 7, 2023, and called for the immediate and unconditional release of all the hostages. But protecting your country is one thing, and killing over 60,000 civilians, displacing 2 million people, bombing hospitals, and starving innocent children to death is quite another. I do believe that we are witnessing one of the darkest and most terrible events of the 21st century unfold right before our eyes. And simply the international community cannot remain silent and paralyzed. One of the most important lessons we learned in the 20th century is that perpetrating genocide is the worst possible crime against humanity. But the other lesson was that looking the other way is completely unforgivable. What moral leadership can we play in the new global order if we abandon Palestinians? Spain announced 2 weeks ago 9 robust measures to contribute to put an end to this tragedy, to this catastrophe, and we continue to stand ready to do everything in our hands. Coherence and consistency are necessary in times of turbulence, because, let me be clear, we are witnessing turbulent times in which the most essential principles, such as the ones enshrined in the United Nations Charter, are being constantly challenged, if not systematically violated. This is a time in which raw, hard power and not international law is gaining ground, a time when international relations are increasingly based on short-term interest and tactical deals rather than the respect of long-term principles that guide our behavior. And that is really bad news. We must stop the spiral of warmongering that risks taking us to a world of blocks and areas of influence. Let us not fall into this trap. We did so in the past, and we know that it does not end well. Europe must double its efforts to reach out to the world and forge partnerships that are both anchored in its long-standing defense of a rules-based international order and that bring tangible benefits for our people, like the European Union agreements with, I hope so, with Mercosur or in the coming future with India. Potential green shots against the dark clouds that surround us, and a clear message that cooperation and not cohesion should set the terms of global exchange. I know, of course, that our world is not that of 1945, but rather than seeing it crumble, we should reimagine and reform our international system with the same determination that those who endured World War II dared to have. We must adapt and transform our global governance to the needs of today and tomorrow. And this message we sent to the world by recently hosting the United Nations Finance for Development Conference in Seville. It was the one that from Spain we wanted to send to the rest of the world. While others withdraw from multilateral institutions and reduce their commitment to international aid and development, Spain redoubled its efforts. In this spirit, we are launching a platform to reform multilateralism, which is an initiative aimed at driving a far-reaching political process to renew both the architecture of global governance and the multilateral system as a whole. Finally, I would like to talk about the third core value I mentioned, the virtues of an open society. And let me stress that this is probably the most important one, because when the free voice of a society is silenced, the society is destined to die. In an open society, the protection of individual rights is not just a principle, it is a foundation. Freedom of speech, freedom of belief, and the right to participate in public life empowers citizens to shape their own destinies. These freedoms are not privileges. They are essential safeguards against tyranny and silence. This is why we must protect these freedoms and avoid their manipulation into weapons for spreading disinformation, inciting hatred, or undermining democratic institutions. That is why defending free speech today means ensuring that open debate strengthens democracy rather than weakens it. Treasure free speech. Mark my words, open societies can only thrive under true democratic governance. Because if we lose our freedom to disagree with power, we will be sowing the seeds of tyranny. So again, mark my words, open societies can only thrive under true democratic governance. And for that, power cannot be concentrated in the hands of a few, but distributed throughout institutions that are transparent, accountable, and responsive. In our democracies, leaders serve the people, not the other way around. This accountability fosters trust, and trust is the lifeblood of any stable and prosperous society. And also openness fuels innovation. When ideas can flow freely, when dissent is not punished but welcomed, societies become laboratories of progress. Open societies are not only more human, they are more dynamic, more resilient, and better equipped to meet the challenges of a changing world. So let me conclude. We must not indulge in nostalgia, but rather become pioneers of the progress that lies ahead. Millions of people still believe today that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are unalienable rights, rights worth fighting for. Those millions of people are looking for leaders who affirm that democracy is founded in the value of the everyday, that any young person can finish their studies without becoming indebted for life, that anyone can live free from fear regardless of his or her background, gender or orientation, that a worker is not treated like a criminal because of their skin color. I'm sure that some of these or those leaders are in this room today. You are those leaders. You are those leaders of tomorrow, and that makes you our best hope. Let me leave you with a final thought. Even if the present may look grim, I know that a brilliant future awaits humanity if young people like you raise your voice and give purpose to your lives, defending with conviction the principles and values that define humankind.